Healing is a fundamental fact in RPGs, and quite often required. It's on the same level of dealing damage for just how important it actually is. Or is it? Is healing actually required? Well, let's find out, and we're not going to play around with semantics here. And just on the off chance it is possible, I think we'll also give the Dark Aeons a try and see how many we can get through. So, let's establish some ground rules. Firstly, healing is the act of restoring HP. Some would argue cleansing status effect is healing, however to me that is cleansing. Some could argue it's the same thing, however we're going to go with the premise that healing is the act of restoring lost health points. This means I cannot restore my HP or MP all playthrough manually. This is both something we can and can't control. In Final Fantasy X, there are 3 ways you heal: with items and magic, when interacting with the save sphere, and some dedicated story points, like after the Blitzball match in Spira and after the Sutuke Dana cutscene. Some of these we can control, some we cannot. For example, we can make sure we don't ever heal using items and magic, and likewise on the PC version of FF10, we can rely on just autosaves to ensure we never have to interact with the save spheres. The story heals though, we can't stop, so we have to allow them. Thankfully though, they are rare and very far in between. That's all though, we're allowed to use all characters, any abilities and items that don't result in my HP changing, and we're allowed any and all skills, including Aeons and Overdrives. As for elemental absorbing equipment, if we're at full health, we're allowed to use it as our HP won't change. However, if we are not at full health, we are not allowed to use it as it would result in being healed. This means proof equipment, which just negates elemental damage, is going to be amazing for us this run, and we're going to have to be careful with Aeons. For the sake of chance though, we are going to allow Balgamine only if our Aeons are full health, meaning her heal technically doesn't do anything, as getting the key items from her is going to be extremely important. For now though, let's do the one bit of healing that is allowed. The healing of my bank account with today's sponsor, me! Did you know that you can support the channel over on Ko-Fi right now? Not only do you get insanely awesome benefits like early access to videos and discounted merch, but you are also helping the future of this channel. Once we can hire Daph full-time, which is the first goal we have on there, then you guys will get not only the weekly challenge video, but you will also get 2 brand new weekly series. So we'll go from 1 video every Friday to 1 video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We just have to hit the first goal for that to happen. And as a benefit, you can support as much or as little as you want on Ko-Fi. It's entirely up to you. Learn more down below at the link in the description. Okay, so Dream Zanarkand first involves lots of tutorial fights, and we're going to abuse these to get some overdrive modes. The first 2 fights we have to attack normally and win. For the 3rd fight, however, we do get hit once, which is unavoidable. But from that point on, they won't attack again, and instead the battle progresses when we kill the mobs in front of us. However, the back spawning mobs actually spawn infinitely when killed. This means we can abuse them to get the Slayer overdrive modes and Ally overdrive modes. I would go for some others here as well, but they require lowering my HP, which I really don't want to risk doing. Then we advance on to the first and potentially most evil kind of boss in this run, the Sin Spawn, which only uses freaking demi attacks. Lovely. And while we do kill it, it drops us down all the way to almost non-existent health. And well, no healing allowed, so this is going to be fun. Also, let's just not talk about how close I was to failing Oran's overdrive. The LB and LT always confuse me since I'm not an Xbox player, and my PS button mod isn't working for some reason. So, on to the next fight against a casual 10 or so mobs that attack me, and I have 100 HP on Tidus and 200 on Oren. Needless to say, we game over. It's okay though, I have a plan that we can try, and thankfully the autosave actually puts me in the start of the fight, so we don't have to do the boss all over again. So this time, I try defending first until Oren mentions about knocking the train down. This lets me keep both Tidus and Oren alive with semi-decent health. Well, compared to what I started the fight with anyway, and then I can have them both target the train. Thankfully, Spines targets Oren as well, who has more health, and then after a few hits on the train, when it's just one hit away from death, Oren gets targeted, but pulls out a clutch dodge, which lets me hit the train one last time to knock it down and move on to Barge Temple, which means we've now barely scraped by a quarter of the game's tutorial by the skin of our teeth. Sadly though, we don't get a story here like I thought, which means we have 93 HP left. I do grab the chests here, even though I can't use the healing items, I can still sell them later. But the Sahagins, I take 2 out while getting my HP drop down to just 41. And that's all that's needed to trigger the next boss. The big fish, who I always forget the name, so I just call him Geo. Geo can't kill us. His attacks are gravity based, and this fight is timed. After 2 hits, which drops us down to just 10 HP, the battle ends and we end up inside the temple. Sadly, still no story heal, and now it's on to another boss. Click the Spider. And as you might have suspected, we got one shot here. Now, technically, on a mathematical level, this would be possible to actually win. We just need to get 7 evasions in a row, which, by the way, you're more likely to win the lottery than for that to happen. But hold on, this video is so much longer, so what's happening? Well, in previous videos that failed, a lot of people suggested a new video idea, so we're going to give it a try. We're going to keep going and see what is the minimum amount of heals required to beat FF10. So let's see if this is the only time I actually need to heal, because if it is, I'm going to be gutted, as that would be a real kick in the teeth. I know some parts later are going to deal damage, and lots of it, but I also have some ideas for ways to get around some fights as well. And since I always do these scripts as I go right now, I'm just like you all, morbidly curious about how this is gonna go. In fact, let's have a little prediction. Drop a comment down below how many times you think I will have to heal. Right now, I'm thinking 3 times. So I load up the autosave and it puts me straight back into the fight with Click, and I throw out a high potion to heal myself. So let's throw up a heal tracker, shall we, and add +1 to it. Second attempt, I get the heal done and attack, and then I see I have 2 turns coming up, so I try and play smart and defend so I can lower the damage I take and then get 2 attacks in. Sadly, it scuffs the turn order for me and didn't work out that way, so I go all or nothing. Thankfully, Tidus evades a hit, and I managed to trigger Riku coming in to help when I was just 1 hit away from death. AKA, that evade won me the fight. Now we have to do 1500 damage to win. I throw a grenade as part of the tutorial and attack with Tidus, and then throw my last grenade before Tidus dies. Now it's just a back and forth of stealing and throwing grenades to get the win. Sadly, now Tidus does not have a level to use because he was dead, and there was still no story heal. This means now Tidus is massively gimped, and he's on just 1 HP since FF10 auto-revives after fights with 1 HP. At this point, we have some huge freaking issues coming up. We have Tross, who is going to be insane to beat with my current HP. We have the Sin skills on the boat, and we have the underwater Sin spawn as well. So we're actually going to do a little grind here, abusing autosave from switching screens underwater. I also throw Slayer on Tidus for his overdrive mode. Sadly, first fight I got into was an ambush, so that's an instant reset as I took damage here. What we want is lone fish on their own, so Riku can steal and Tidus can kill them. If we get 2 fish, then Riku and Tidus need to kill each individually. If we get 3 packs, it's a reset. So we have a couple of goals here. The first is to get Slayer for Riku so we can get her overdrive charged. That's going to help beyond measure for the Tross boss. The The second is we want to unlock Tidus's overdrives, Slice and Dice for bosses, Energy Rain for some fights, and Blitz Ace for some bosses. Grinding is going to be a luxury in this sort of run, so we have to be extremely careful on where, when, and how we do this. One thing is for sure though, at no point this run am I ever going to be classed as overpowered. Once we get into Tross, I use Riku to mix 2 grenades together which turn into Flash Flood. This hits at 600 plus damage a time and hits multiple times, meaning Tross got one shot, and my god, it felt good. Just a shame we now lose Riku for ages, which means no more easy wins like that. And so now we're over in Besaid, and guess what? Still no story heal, so I flee from all fights in the water with Walker. We take a nap at Walker's, still no heal. We do the cloister, which kills me inside. I really wish the cutscene skipper mod would let us skip cloisters as well, but still no story heal. However, thankfully, after the bonfire and being called a bad man, we stay in the Crusaders Lodge and we finally get a story heal, which means Tidus is no longer one hit away from death. And remember, story heals don't count for the tracker. Not like it matters much anyway. We have 3 bosses coming up. First one being Kimahri. I use a Slice and Dice in the hopes we can end this fight in one turn, but like everything in life, things that don't always go the way we want. And because of that, Kimahri got 2 turns in and managed to deal about 100 damage total to me, which is not ideal considering I have no idea when the next story heal is. I think it's Kilika? Well, I'm pretty sure it's Kilika anyway. In the next tutorial, I get Valefor to spam Sonic Wings to try and stop the zoo getting any turns, but sadly it still manages to hit me twice before lowering Valefor's HP, which is not nice considering I wanted to use Valefor for the Sin fight on the boat. Turns out it doesn't matter though, as the tutorial heals you back up afterwards, which also means Tidus is back to full now as well. Never knew about that story heal. On the boat though, I decide to take a gamble. You see, this is the only point now in the game I can farm EXP and Gil without worrying about taking damage. There's a downside here though. Firstly, it costs 24 MP, and no healing means I can't restore MP either, just like HP. This means Tidus's MP is non-existent until the next story heal, which means I might not have haste for future bosses because of a lack of MP. And as we've seen in previous challenges, haste can be the deal maker or breaker in some fights. But if it pays off, then we get some extra sphere levels here which we can convert into stats to make use of, and it can give us MP and HP nodes that we can take advantage of during the next story heal. There's only so many after all, and almost all of them are early game, meaning really we want to try and stack as much as we can early on, otherwise future fights are going to be nightmares. Another downside though is even with an overkill, the sin scales only give 3 AP, meaning for me to take advantage of it, it's going to take a long time. A very long time. So, I'll take the gamble, thinking about the future. I'll commit to the grind here. Payoff will mean the next couple of bosses will be easier, but the downside is the time investment and the lack of MP. So, I set up haste on Tidus, bring in Walker and Kimahri and use cheer 5 times, making sure to kill any sin scales off that start to glow. Then, once all the cheers are done, I haste Walker and Kimahri. Thankfully, while doing this as well, the sin scale that attacked Walker during the setup actually missed. His attack meaning Walker stays at full health, which is great because he's in the next boss. But now with haste and 5 cheers, all 3 characters kill the scales in one hit, and criticals mean overkills. Because of haste, the scales will also never get a turn, meaning right now I'm totally invincible. Then, with some extra turns from Walker, I also get a few hits in on the fin to drop its health down. We don't want to kill it though. Now, I do this for quite a while, probably about 8 hours or so, as I did this during one of my night shifts for part of it. Before we kill the fin, we want to make sure Yuna and Lulu get EXP as well. So when I'm ready to end the fight, I bring in Lulu and get her to attack, then I bring in Yuna and have her summon Valefor, which I use the overdrive wave to kill the fin. Then, for the underwater sin scale, I know I'm going to take damage here no matter what, so it's about lowering that amount as much as I can. I get Tidus to use the last of his MP to haste himself, and then start setting up cheers. Walker on the other hand is to kill the fishies with the sin spawn, after inflicting dark on the boss. While I do still get hit by some fish and the boss's blender, the damage is lower now thanks to the 5 cheers. Then I get some hits in and use slice and dice when there's no fish left, so all 5 hits end up on the boss, and with that, we did it. Now, I will admit I got more levels here than expected, which means some potentially early problems are, well, very likely not going to be problems anymore. But after the way the last few runs went, maybe I shouldn't say that since I have a habit of jinxing myself. After all, if we can't one-shot something, then we're going to take damage. And let's not forget how Anima insta-kills with pain, which drops me to 1 HP. Thunderplanes has a big spike in damage, and let's also not forget some of the memes with bosses like Sinspawn Yui being able to use Demi. And that's only early game. I won't have another chance to level like this now all the way until Baval. Before then, every area has its own risks, unless I can reliably one-shot all mobs before they get a turn, which I can't. Not in any worthwhile way anyway. So I spend all the sphere levels, and these are the stats at the end of it. Not strong, but not weak. I'm pretty sure there's either a story heal here in Kilika, or on the way to Luca. Then I think there's one in Mihen after that, though I'm pretty sure I don't get a story heal until Thunderplanes. And after Thunderplanes, I think it's on the airship when we go to rescue Yuna. From that point, pretty sure it's not until after Unalaska, so we have to make each of these count. And it also means we're going to have to be very sparse with magic, especially higher tier magic, and of course rotate characters in and out of the party. And thankfully, I was right. Kilika is a story heal after the sending. So let's head to Kilika Forest for the Lancet tutorial with Kimahri. Also, anybody who thought I was overpowered, yeah, think again, I can't even one-shot mobs here in the forest. Anywho, Sinspawn now. I kill off the tentacles with Tidus and Walker, and then get Lulu to use fire on the boss. Now I had hoped it wouldn't open the boss up, as the boss counters when opened with Venom. I had wanted to do that with Veilfer, as Veilfer would have a decent chance to dodge it. No luck though, and Walker got hit and poisoned. So I hit the boss again with Tidus, swap Walker out for Kimahri so he doesn't take poison damage, as that would be devastating, since poison is 25% of my health. And then attack again, and finally Tidus kills the boss with a critical. Then we have another annoying cloister where we make 100% sure to do the destruction sphere, both because I want Anima later and also because the extra protection for Kimahri will be amazing. And then it's off to Luca, where of course we get the jack shot for style points. Look, I do this every FF10 challenge, you guys should be used to this by now. So of course, following this, Yuna gets kidnapped because she didn't want to bother the bird lady and Satan's pet dog, so instead it's up to us to rescue her. Thankfully though, at some point from traveling from Kilika to now, we had a story heal, likely during the cutscene where it asks us to save. I also buy a Thunder Sphere from a Walker for Kimahri. Anyway, first we have a stream of Machina fights, which I get through taking no damage as Kimahri and Lulu can one-shot them. However, Tidus cannot, but that's fine, I still take no damage. On the boat though, I found out something I didn't know. You can't use Thundara on the crane for some reason. You can only use the Thunder spell on it to charge it, which I do find super interesting. But I set haste up on Lulu and start charging the crane. While doing this, I do get hit by Blitzball Rush, which takes a chunk out of each of my characters, but it's thankfully not much before I get the crane active. Rip the boss in half, and then finish it off with a crit from Kimahri for the overkill. Now, it's Blitzball time, and of course, I win the match for that +4 strength sphere, even if it was a close match. The first half ended 2-1 to the goers, and round 2, I managed to pick back 2 quick goals, and then I used the ultimate strategy. I hide in my own goal, which confuses everybody so badly, they just go crazy and spin in circles. Look, bug or not, you've used this tactic before and you know it. So, we take some damage to the Sahagans in the pool, which isn't ideal, but thankfully it's not a huge amount. After this, we have the Orange solo, but he one-shots that mob, and then we have a Garuda to fight. I want to avoid as much damage as possible, so I get Walker to inflict Dark on it, which helps because otherwise I'd have took 2 single hits and an AoE hit. And thankfully, we have a story heal during the cutscene, which means we can interact with the save point right now without worrying, because it's time for Blitzball. Look, this is honestly very likely to be the only time I can actually play Blitzball because of needing a story heal to go with it. So we can actually access the save point. The only other way would be if I ran all the way back to Luca, as I repeat, you can play Blitzball by interacting with the counter near the Blitzball changing rooms. I could very well be wrong there though, as it's something I've only just thought about, and so you bet your butt we're gonna play right now. Let's recruit Zevronso, Jamal, and Wedge. Now, our team is complete. Quite some stuff we want here. Firstly, we want teleport spheres, both for customize and to help get around the sphere grid later. These are league prizes for winning first place. Then we want return spheres, again both for customize and the sphere grid. These are much easier to get though, as the top scorer prizes can be gotten multiple times per league and a tournament. Since as long as we tie our goals, each person is technically first and so gets a return sphere. This means it's easy to get 2 or even 3 spheres at a time. And lastly are the overdrives for Walker. Technically I only care about attack reels, but I'm going to try and go for his Celestial later, so I go all the way for Aurochs reels since I pre-farmed the battles requirement back in Kilika by using Flea. Once we have all of this, it's time to move on to Balgamine. As you can see here, my Aeons are full health, and therefore even though she has a forced heal, my Aeon HP is full and therefore does not count as a heal. Now, to prepare for Chocobo Eater, we're absolutely going to need Aeon Overdrives. So, the way I do this is by abusing dual horns for Valefor and bombs for Ifrit. Now, Ifrit would normally be healed by anything and everything the bombs do to him. However, Ifrit is still full health. Therefore, no healing is done to him, which means we can slowly attack our way up to a full overdrive. For Valefor, dual horns just can't attack the flying Valefor. So again, we can safely attack our way to a full overdrive. I do this right next to the zone change to abuse autosaves. Since Valefor took damage against Balgamine, that means I can't use the save point anymore. Now at the agency, we get a story heal, and it's one of the last for a very long time. So now it's time for Chocobo Eater. I get a hit in on it and do 500 odd damage, and then I get Yuna to summon Ifrit. He still has 9,400 HP, so I use Hellfire. I want to get this done without taking damage after all, and Chocobo Eater is weak to fire, so Ifrit's Overdrive has no issues with dealing maximum damage to get the overkill and keep me at full health across the board. Now, I do the bomb trick again to refill Ifrit's Overdrive and move on. This is the first area in a while as well that we start getting ambushed again. So, I abuse the autosaves on zone changes until I make it through being able to just use Flee with Tidus to avoid random battles. At Mushroom Rock, I buy the TKO for Walker since Stone Touch is a nice to have now with mob health getting so much higher, and I get the Sentry for Orange since it has initiative, which means I'm more likely to get preemptive strikes, and I believe, but could be wrong, it should also stop ambushes entirely. I feel that might be wrong though, so feel free to correct me down below. For Sinceborn Yui, I sadly only have Valefor's Overdrive, as I used Ifrit in Mushroom Rock like a silly person, and it cost me here. Firstly, Valefor does kill off the arms and the head, eliminating a lot of trouble, but the boss still gets to attack me with Demi, taking Valefor down in HP. I do dodge his melee attack, and then when his arms finally respawn, the main body has just 86 HP left, so I attack it through the arms. Even though they defend the body, we still do enough damage to kill it. Sadly, my Valefor is only on just over 600 HP and doesn't have an overdrive ready for phase 2. In phase 2, I summon Valefor again, do a normal attack to get my overdrive, and then get hit by thunder from the head and a melee attack from the body. Thankfully though, this second phase is much weaker when it comes to damage, and so Veilfer didn't lose that much HP before I cleaned the fight up with another energy blast. But now with that, we made it through Yui, and only Veilfer lost some HP. I count that as a win if I'm honest. Sadly though, no story heal here, which I actually thought there was one, so let's head to Jose Temple and do the cloister there to get our new Aeon, and nice! Story heal, which means Veilfer is healed now and I can interact again with save spheres. I guess there's a story heal just every time characters are forced to sleep in beds. The downside, we're almost out of story heals, and these last few I feel like I haven't taken advantage of. I'm also super annoyed by the fact we didn't get a story heal earlier in Barge, which actually forced a manual heal, because we've got so far right now without actually needing to manually heal again. The next story heals that I can actually remember are Thunderplane's Agency. I'm pretty sure there's one on the airship before we fight Evray. May be wrong about that one, but we'll hopefully see. And then there should be one after Sudoku Dana. Sadly, there's none in the Calmlands, none in Gagazet, maybe one during the fire scene at Zanarkand, I'm not sure, and then I have no idea how many, if any, there are after Yunalesca. Anywho, we have another fight with Balgamine. Don't worry, my Aeons were already full HP. I start with Veilfer thinking it has a better chance to avoid any attacks from Ixion, and start with 2 turns. So I attack normally first for 1000 damage, and then use an energy blast which thankfully kills it. So luckily I'm still full HP. Next up is the underwater fight with Riku. I equipped Tidus with the lightning strike weapon we won at Luca from the Sahargans, and go into the fight with full overdrives for him and Waka. I want to one-shot this fight, as coming up is Riku's tutorial, and she gets healed after that as she's forced to take damage, but I'm pretty sure nobody else gets healed. And thankfully, that's what happens. Tidus uses Slice and Dice and drops it to just under half HP, and then Waka comes in and deals much more damage with attack reels than I expected. But it got me the win and the overkill, which is nice. So now we recruit Jailbait, and sorry guys, no cutscene, as a bunch of cutscenes in 10 are now flagging copyright hits, so playing it safe with the CGI stuff. Once we get to Guadosalam, we unlock Customize. I instantly give Tidus First Strike, and now I never have to worry about random battles again or ambushes, because as soon as the fight starts, Tidus can flee. So thankfully, no more abusing autosaves to get through areas with no battles. Now we can just happily run away in peace. Then I use teleport spheres to move everybody except Auron over to Riku's grid to grab Steal and Use. I also used the Strength Sphere and Magic Sphere I have to get an extra +4 Strength and Magic for everybody. Then we'll use our return spheres to move them back later. I kept Auron on his grid though, because I don't plan on using him much right now. Sadly though, because of the HP node on Riku's grid, it now also means I'm not full health anymore, so no more interacting with the save spheres. We also have a bunch of bosses coming up. We have Sphere Morph, Crawler, Seymour and Anima, and then lastly the Yeti. And there's no heals between them. They all suck for damage, and this might be why I'm forced to have a second heal. In the Thunder Plains, we also do a bunch of stealing while fleeing. This does 2 things for us. Firstly, it increases our battle count, which can affect a hidden level for our Aeons, increasing that and making them stronger, but it also gives me more options in the future for item use and customize. If I get ambushed though, it's an instant flee. Some of the steals we go for is Electro Marble from the Gold Element, Musks from the Viewer, as this can turn into Berserk Proof, which might come in handy later. However, these are a rare steal. Petrify Grenades from the Little Lizards, because these are going to be very clutch for us later. Lightning Marbles from Erogay, Lunar Curtains from Lava, and some Chocobo Feathers from Cactar. Last but not least is the Iron Giant, who has Light Curtains for stealing. However, since these are basically just for auto protect, I'm not going to get them since I can evade and counter. However, there is something else as well. The Iron Giant drops 3 slot weapons, and they can roll Strength 10% or Magic 10%. Auron and Kimari will almost always get Piercing as well though, so they're kind of bad for this. What this means is we want to fight Iron Giant and get some drops. I suggest doing this with Petrify Grenades for safety and to ensure we don't lose much HP. Also, story heal inside the Thunderplains agency, which I thought there would be. I just wish I could fight the Iron Giant on the first screen of the Thunderplains, so I could use the levels to get some HP before the heal, since now I'm pretty sure there's no more HP restores for a good while, and we have like 6 bosses coming up. This is gonna suck. I'm just not entirely sure if the Iron Giant equipment will be all that helpful. I can absolutely think of some benefits to having 2 customized slots right now, but I don't know if it's worth farming. Especially since Petrify Grenades are also a rare steal. At least though, now we can fight the battles with Lava as Ixion is full health and they only have Thunder attacks. Other mobs that can't hurt Ixion include the Gold Element and the Aragoos. This means we can easily fill out its overdrive. For Ifrit and Veilfer, we just kill 2 of the mobs before summoning them, and in Saw we can one-shot the remaining. Good example of this is the Viewer or the Lizard. In Mokalania, we still do a bunch of stealing, however, we can also get some really good equipment here. The Blue Element can drop 3-slot empty armors and weapons, and it can drop waterproof armors. The steal is just fish scales though. Chimera, we can steal Arctic Winds. Murasu's rare steal is Hypolo Potion for Mixies. Wasp has the Poison Fang rare steal, so we're going to stock up on them for sure. Honestly, this might be going totally overkill, but I'd rather spend more time than I need and succeed versus not doing enough now, getting a little further and then being totally stuck. Granted, for our no healing rule, most of these items are useless, and some only help in specific situations, but it's better to have all our bases covered. Once all the stealing has been done, I still didn't get a good weapon or armor, which sucks, but oh well, these things happen. For Sphere Morph, I use 2 Poison Fangs with Tidus, which sadly results in a Thunder counter from the boss. So Tidus takes a total of just over 400 damage. Great, now I can't save manually. And then I summon Veilfer and use its overdrive to finish the boss off. Now, because of the previous grind, we did get a bunch of levels as well. So I use those by grabbing the quick HP and strength nodes from Riku's grid, and then send everybody over to Oren's grid for more strength and HP. This way, I can only hope to make the most of the next story heal, as that's probably going to be Sutekei Dana, and that one has to last me all through Zanarkand. For Lulu, however, I sent her over to Tidus's grid as I want at least one person with Hastiger. Sadly, I'm 1 level short for getting it, so I absolutely cheat and use a return sphere to move 1 node forward to the next activated sphere, and this way I can use my levels to just make it to Hastiger. What's going to absolutely suck though is I'm about to lose my Aeon Clutch. I also forget to do Yuna's sphere levels before she left the party, which sucks, but I'll have to live with it since I can't reload a previous save, since autosave doesn't let you have more than 1 save. Anyway, this is how my stats are currently. We'll be okay for Corolla for sure. I don't have Reflect for Seymour, which I would have loved, but I can still use the null spells. Not quite sure how I'm going to get through Anima though, as I want to do that with as little HP loss as possible, because the Wendigo afterwards hits like a goddamn buzz. Anywho, on Crawler, I use a Lightning Marble to kill Negator, get a normal hit in, and then summon Ixion. Now, it's straight up impossible for me to not take damage here, so I use 2 Thundaras while he works Ixion down, and then when I'm 1 hit away from death, I use the Overdrive. This leaves the boss on just 500 HP, and means Ixion soaks Mana Beam for me, which means I can then finish the boss off with a Poison Fang. It sucks that Ixion died, but when I get through the whole fight and all I lost was Ixion and no HP on any of the others, I'll take it. So, Seymour next. I use a quick Petrify Grenade to get rid of the Guado of Seymour, and then use Yuna to use Null Frost ready to evade his first hit. Then I attack Seymour once more to end the first phase and bring Anima in. Now I'm in trouble though. I attack with Tidus, dealing a nice 3000 damage since Anima is in boost mode, but the next attack is Pain. That means instant death, so I have to summon. I choose Shiva, and I know I'm going to take damage, so I start casting Blizzer. The spam does let me kill Anima before Shiva dies, but now we have another problem. Seymour's first turn is always an ice spell. Shiva is missing HP. and she will absorb it. This is not allowed. Thankfully, Shiva gets a turn before Seymour, so I'm able to dismiss her. Seymour cracks out a multi-blizzerer, deals pretty good damage to Walker, dropping him down to just 1000 HP, and Yuna immunes it thanks to Null Frost. But I kill Seymour with some melee hits and Poison Fang. I also got really lucky and got 2 black magic sphere drops. Probably not going to use them at this point, but hey, might come in handy if I go for Ultima later. Also, yes, I'm now using the no encounter booster. Look, I have First Strike on Tidus to flee from everything. Using the no encounter booster is not making this easier. It's just saving me 30 seconds from the start of battle and having to flee. It's a simple time save only. Anywho, now it's time for another cursed cloister. Will somebody please just make a mod which skips these? I'm actually begging here. On the escape, it is entirely possible to evade all of the Guado as long as you hug the corners tight but don't actually touch the wall. I make it nearly all the way to the very end, but then, sadly, I get caught. It's okay though, a quick petrify grenade ends the fight instantly and we get out. Sadly though, we have the Yeti now, and this is gonna suck. Tidus has 1600 HP, Yuna has the same, Waka has 1100, and the others are in a range between 100 and 2400. My Ixion is dead and Shiva is crippled. Oh, and we're about to fight something that can and will very easily one-shot my characters. So, at the start, I get a petrify grenade out. Really versatile, these things, huh? This way, the Guado die and don't buff the boss, so we avoid that problem. Then I get Tidus to use a cheer. My plan here is to overdrive with Waka and Tidus. The boss has 18,000 HP, so an attack rails and a slice of dice surely would be enough to kill it. And, well, it turns out it is. In fact, I only needed attack rails. It absolutely crushed the Wendigo, which even left me a little speechless. I was expecting to need both of them. Under Makalania though, we do in actual fact not get a storyline heal, so now I'm feeling kinda screwed. For the forced zoo fight in Beaconel, I steal the smoke bombs from it and then use one on it to inflict darkness. Then I use a chocobo feather to give me haste so I can save my MP. Oren comes in, so we'll attack with him. Then I get Tidus to use a Poison Fang to inflict poison and just do some normal attacks, which result in the zoo dying after missing me with its only attack thanks to darkness. Going through the desert, I do steal some smoke bombs as well as sleep powders as they could really come in handy later. Status effects are one of them things you really can't judge after all. Also, after a quick look at the equipment I got from Seymour and Wendigo, turns out I got a really good weapon for Waka with 3 empty slots, and one for Tidus with 2 empty slots. So I give them both First Strike and Evade Encounter on them. Then in Waka's last slot, I also give him Stone Strike, which is going to be amazing from now until Zanarkand. In home, Petrify Grenades take care of all the forced fights, including the forced ambush later, where First Strike comes in clutch for me. But while here, I also make sure to open all the chests as well, especially the unique sphere ones, and also the level 4 lock sphere. These are absolutely going to get used later, and then I hop aboard the airship where I start to panic. We still don't have a forced heal, and Everett is coming up soon. He hits hard, fast, and is just in general nasty, as I'm sure you're all aware. He also has a massive 32,000 HP, can haste himself, and also halves all elemental damage. Oh, and he can stone us and has AoE attacks. Combine that now with a lack of Aeons, meaning I have a lot less damage potential. So, let's do it. I start off by thinking really hard about what I'm going to do here, and I settle on trying status effects. He's immune to poison, but I do land dark on him, which is nice. I also bring in Lulu for hastiger. After that, I know I need high damage and fast. So, I opt for spare change with Kimari. It costs me a huge amount of gil. In fact, nearly half of what I have, but it does huge amounts of damage, allowing me to hit the cap each turn. I try go for overdrives with Tidus, but for some reason only Spiral Cut is available. I never knew he can't actually use the others on the airship. That's new to me and I could have swore he could, but okay. So I use attack reels with Waka for the win. and this allows me to do the fight without taking any more damage. Now we just have to get through the trash fight on the way to Yuna and do Baval. At that point, I think we get a story heal. So, we do Baval's Cloister. The worst one ever, I might add. Then after this, I think I come down with something. It's almost like I develop some kind of conscience here. Because of how long this video is, as I assume we're around the hour mark at this point, just based on script length, I name Bahamut Baha-chan in the hopes that Daph takes mercy upon me, and even more so since we're probably going to use Bahamut a lot now. Well, maybe, I don't know, I still have a few ideas on what we can do. Also, yay, I can now spend Yuna's sphere levels, so it's straight over to Oren's grid for that. At least it will be when I go and get Oren back in the party. Also, can you believe still no story heal yet? I'm breaking it. If we don't get one for Seymour, that will mean I will absolutely have to use all of my gil with spare change, which I really don't want to do since right after we have to get Yojimbo and then have Seymour at Gagazet. Anywho, I clear out the underground of all its treasures, recruit the others, and then spend Yuna's sphere levels, which does wonders for my Aeon stats. And then we have a fight with Isaru, who thankfully, finally, heals us. I just really hope it spreads to the other characters and isn't just a heal on Yuna. Anywho, I bring out Veilfer to fight Ifrit, thinking I'm gonna get hit by Hellfire. Turns out I don't, as Veilfer two-shots it. Then I bring out Bahamut, who just smacks his Veilfer for 23k. More than I expected, but now we're fighting Bahamut. And because I feel kind of weird after doing something nice for Daph this run, I decide to get the ultimate payback and use Shiva to kill it. If you don't get that reference, you need to go watch more of my challenge videos. Anywho, Isaru goes down, surprising probably nobody. And then we're back in control of Tidus, and thankfully the heal was on everybody. Jesus, I really needed that. But now I'm questioning if I'll get another one before Seymour at Gagazet. This now is honestly where the run starts to get a little hairy. Early on, I could kind of predict some things, but now this late, there's just too many variables. Bosses have too many gimmicks, etc. Oh, I used Phoenix Downs on every alternate because, of course I did. Also, it dealt damage, therefore not a heal. Just throwing this out there for that one person who thinks they're smart. And now we're on the high bridge. We're full HP, which means I can use the save sphere, but now we have a freaking insanely huge problem. Firstly, I want to grind here, not for EXP, but for Gil. You see, for both EXP and Gil, this is the best grinding spot until after Unalaska, and my Gil reserves are empty. The downside though is any levels I get, I can't use to get HP nodes, and I can't use any for Yuna at all. Why? Because of my HP. Right now, I'm full, but if I get a HP sphere, I won't be. This means I will no longer be able to interact with the save sphere, and I want a big Gil grind. Likewise, I can't even get any normal stats for Yuna because of her Aeons getting a HP boost from Yuna increasing her stats. Catch 22, I'm afraid, and sadly, there's no screen transition here for me to abuse with autosave. This means the only way I can grind here is by staying at max health so I can save normally. After probably way too long, I get up to 2.7 million gil. This way, after we pay Yojimbo 750,000, we still have 2 million left. We can use this for some bribes or spare change. Haven't decided which yet. Level-wise, we're of course up to 99 sphere levels with everybody. This spot is just so amazing for leveling, it's unreal. The debate now is if I use them or not. I think right this instant we'll hold on to them. I would like to think we have enough HP here to get through everything, but, well, we all know how Seymour is, and if I'm perfectly honest, I have no idea how I'm going to get through everything without healing. Fact of the matter is, we can burn Aeons on Seymour and Gagazet, but then we still have to contend with Sanctuary and Spectral Keeper, and then Unalaska without Aeons. Maybe there will be a story heal at that point before I fight Sin. If not, then it means the rest of the run is done without Aeons. Right now, I'm honestly just sat here scratching my head on how I'm going to do this. It's a conundrum. We have multiple routes available, but it's like Grandmaster Chess. We can't plan for just the next boss. We need to be planning for the next 5 bosses. But first, let's get out of Baval after the first Seymour fight.
And for this, I'm going to burn Bahamut in the hopes there's a heal with the Tsutoke Dana cutscene. But I'm an idiot. I forgot about overdrives and other characters. So I get attack reels and slice of dice out, which deals a nice amount of damage before I summon Bahamut, only to use Mega Flare. But sadly, I massively overestimate the lizard's damage potential and only deal about 11,000 damage. This means Seymour survives and kills my Bahamut. And while I do end up killing Seymour afterwards with Shiva, I'm now left unable to use save spheres and without Bahamut, my clutch, which is an insanely huge problem. With the next boss, Defender, he has gravity-based attacks which can massively harm my HP values, and I was hoping to use Bahamut to basically one-shot it. That's out the window now, so I need to replan. Also, no heal before Tsutoke Dana and no heal after it. This sucks. Maybe one during a cutscene in the Calm Lands, as we get 2 cutscenes. One when we enter the Calm Lands and one at the agency. Now, all the other agencies heal me through the game, except maybe Mokalania? I can't remember if that one did or not. So we can hope for a Bahamut revival here. And sadly, it doesn't. So we're going to head over to Remian Temple right now. We can't do any of the Aeon fights with Balgamine because we can't heal right now, but we can do the Chocobo race. Specifically, we want 3, 4, and 5 chest rewards as they give us wings to discovery, pendulums, and 3 stars respectively. The last 2 are great for customize, and the 3rd, I'm sure you all know what I'm going to use it for. We could also do the Chocobo training now, but I'd rather wait until I have the upgraded mirror. We do need to do a little training though before we can get a Chocobo to get to the temple with. As for the races, just don't do it with the speed up booster on, as it's basically impossible. Also, these 3 images are the routes you need to take to get 3, 4, and 5 chests respectively. After this, let's upgrade the Cloudy Mirror to get the Celestial Mirror. And just like all my other FF10 challenges, we're gonna do the 0-second Chocobo right now, and then I can get Tidus's Celestial Weapon as well. But I'm ashamed. It took me 4 attempts. The first 2 were absolutely terrible layouts. The 3rd, I messed up and missed a balloon at the end, which resulted in my finishing with 1.1 second on the timer, and the 4th, I said enough is enough and got it done. And now we can tackle the boss. I won't bother buying capture weapons just yet because I don't think it would be that amazing for the Defender fight. I bring in Lulu to use Haste to go first to give as many turns as possible, and then I get Riku in to mix Trio of 999, using those wings we just got. Then it's just a process of attacking away. I did take some counters because I'm an idiot. I really should have used a water gem or had Lulu's overdrive ready, since multi-hitting attacks could have crushed the box. Well, next up is Yojimbo, both fighting him and recruiting him. The fight went smoothly if you ignore the damage I took. Tidus got 1 hit in and then I summoned Shiva, the fastest and highest evasion Aeon I have, and just used normal attacks. I sadly didn't get any evades, but I did at least get a few turns of double hits in. Afterwards, we pay Yojimbo triple his asking price to increase his compatibility with us, and then we also get 2 teleport spheres from him. Sadly, now though, we have a fight with Kimahri alone against the other 2 Ronso, and I know I won't be able to get this done quickly. I also want some of the level 3 key spheres from them, and to be honest, my damage in general is falling behind now for everybody, and so I decide to spend the sphere levels. Mostly so I can get Kimahri Mug, but if there is another story heal in the future, then I'd also like to try things like Omega and the Monster Arena, so making the most of it would be great. Sadly though, it wasn't actually as much of a boost as I expected it to be. Got some nice HP and MP bonuses for Tidus, Walker, Yuna, and Riku. I didn't bother doing Orin and Lulu though because I didn't want to farm more spheres. Kimahri only had 2 levels, which sucked, and because I did a lot of early grids, my HP was nice, but the stat increases were very minor. Now for Biren and Yenke, I decided to use Mug a couple of times, which I got using a skill sphere on Kimahri. This lets me get a couple of level 3 key spheres while also doing damage. I use a Chocobo Feather for haste and then also curtain items for protect and shell. Then I kind of realized that I'm an idiot. I have no proper source of damage, so after a few mugs of each of them, I decided to waste 200,000 gil and use spare change to get the kill. We can't keep doing that though. For example, Next up is Seymour, and he has 70,000 HP. AKA, if I wanted to kill him with spare change, it would cost me over 700,000 gil. I only have 1.8 million left, and I might need some bribe money later as well. Just make sure to speak to Want as well. This is so he spawns in Mokolonia Forest later, where he sells empty 4-slot weapons and armors, which could be insanely helpful for us. For Seymour, he has some absolutely atrocious combos and ways to one-shot me with, or without our no healing rule. He likes to use zombie and full life to kill us off. He has some huge damage attacks as well, and he can also one-shot Aeons, which kind of rules them out since I really don't want them to die before Yuna in case there's no heal during the campfire scene. So I of course decide to bring in that stinky cheese. I set up trio of 999 with Riku and then debate using a water gem with Yuna, but decide against it and just attack normally instead. And with Lulu, I use a Fire Fury, which deals insanely good damage thanks to trio, but sadly it does not kill it because of too many hits going on the mortar body. So I then use a water gem on Yuna's last turn before Seymour gets to make some moves, and the last hit of the gem manages to take him out. For a nice quick win. I also get some fire gems from the bombs in Gagazet just in case for later bosses like Sanctuary Keeper. He only has 40,000 HP, but some good multi-hit attacks, and he has access to Curse. But he can also heal himself, which is not very nice. I kind of flick the brakes on him for sure, but I would much rather go for a quick kill. Now I'm playing even more careful, so I backtrack to Mokolonia to easily fill overdrives. And then for Sanctuary, I decide to use Mix to do Trio and Walker's Overdrive, which sadly I messed up on and only landed 4 hits. It's been a long time since I messed that up. I blame the headache I currently have. But we finish it off with Tidus and move on. I'm going to get to the cloister and see if there's any story heals. If not, then backtrack for overdrives again. Which, sadly, the bonfire is not a forced heal. Which means, long story short, I think I'm kinda fucked. But we'll have to see. For Spectral though, I absolutely have to one-shot it, as if he gets turns, then I'm screwed royally. So naturally I opt for Mix again and use Blitz Ace to ensure a one-shot. And now it's another return trip to fill overdrives for Yuna. Sadly, I don't think I can just use Trio in every fight coming up, since I don't think my wings will last that long. So we'll have to be smart on some of the fights and see what attacks they have. Yuna though is going to be a giant pain in the butt though, because of her 3 different forms, her counterattacks, and also her damn Megadeth mechanic. So I know I'm very likely gonna lose an Aeon here minimum. As for the others, well, let's see. I set up Trio to start with because of course I do, but I only have 10 of these options left, so can't always go with that now. I defeat the first phase with just some normal attacks. Then on the transition to phase 2, I get hit with Hellbiter, which inflicts zombie. I swap Riku out with Yuna and use Holy without thinking, because now I can't summon. But I suppose with Tidus and Walker in zombie, it's not the end of the world. So I defeat phase 2 with a Blitz Ace from Tidus, and now we're on to phase 3. Yuna dies to Megadeth, so now until the next story heal, she's just always gonna be on 1 HP, which makes her basically useless in longer fights. And then I use attack reels with Walker to finish the fight with a perfect set of 2s across the board. Lost a little health overall, so now I'm even lower, but thankfully status effects don't persist in FF10 through battles, so I don't have to worry about zombie. Although I guess I've kinda been a zombie all run anyway since I can't heal. So let's get out of Zanarkand now, where we're forced into the airship. This is kind of the last place I expect any kind of story heal, so if we get one, great. If not, we need to beat everything else at our current HP. Oh, and I make sure to get the upgrade item for Tidus' Celestial as well, so now we can fully power that up. But I'm now gutted. There was no story heal, which also means we're kinda screwed as we actually have to use the save sphere to use the airship. I was really hoping for a heal so that I could use that save sphere without worry, but hey, Maybe Bahamut will give me one when we go to Baval for the cutscene there, since we can do that part without having to interact with a save sphere. And sadly, it does not. However, thankfully, it auto puts me back on the airship so we can do the Sin fight without interacting with a save sphere. It does, however, mean I can't go and get my celestial weapons, which kind of ruins my plans for what I wanted to do, and now also means I don't know what my next steps are. The fight with Sin's head, for example, has 140,000 HP, and I have no real way to charge my overdrives right now. We also have to contend with Sin's arms, which only Waka can hit since I'm going to be extremely limited with MP. The first fight, I get Waka to attack twice before I summon Yojimbo. I'd hope for a one-shot, but of course I don't get Zanmado, so I slowly etch away at the arm's 65,000 HP with one gil a time. Yojimbo though, I absolutely can't afford to lose in case I need Zanmado later, so I need to at least keep him alive. For the second arm, I do the same, only this time I bring Ixion out and use that to kill the arm. I'm basically just trying to keep my Aeons alive by spreading the damage out across the board. I also forgot to equip people with the Warrior Overdrive, so I can't even generate any overdrive right now. Right after the arms, we're thrown into another fight with a Sin Spawn and a Core. Tidus heals the Sin Spawn though because his weapon has Water Strike on, and hey, let me just point out the rules. I can't heal myself. Healing enemies is bad, but not a rule fail. Besides, he was at full health anyway, so I attack with Waka and swap Tidus out for Orin, thinking he'd be my second best hitter. Turns out, he's bad, so I use Yuna to summon Veilfer, hoping for evades. Sin Spawn goes down, but the Core does end up hitting me with Graviga, so now Veilfer is almost dead as well. I try Sonic Wings aiming for delay, but the Core's immune to it, and so now I just have to suffer with normal attacks. It does indeed die, but now that's Veilfer, Yojimbo, Shiva from earlier, and Ixion low health. Bahamut is also dead, so this means I'm stuck with just a full HP Ifrit. Yuna has 1 HP, so I need to be very careful with her, and we have the boss with the most HP coming up. Well, most HP if you don't count Monster Arena and Dark Aeons anyway. So, time for another gamble. Riku has 49 sphere levels left and Lulu has 99. So I use a return sphere with Lulu to take her back to her own grid and then take her to grab Flare. Then I teleport her over to Kimari's grid and grab Ultima with her. And finally I grab Double Cast with her as well. Then on Riku I use Special Spheres and Black Magic Spheres to learn all 3 abilities before taking her into Yuna's grid to pick up as much magic stat as I can. It's not a huge amount, but every little helps. I do this because I had an empty 4-slot weapon with her, and she has good agility. This means those 3 stars we got way back at Remian can be used for 1 MP on the weapon, which is a huge benefit. So, for the Sin fight, I have Waka attacking, Tidus, well, he was just kinda there really, and Riku is the true star of the show. I have her double casting Flare and Ultima just to check the damages out, and Ultima was a lot better, so I stick to using that. I also apply Mental Break with Waka, letting my Ultima spam deal even more damage. I was able to hit about 7,000 per cast, and because of using double cast, it was about 14,000 per turn. And on the bright side, her overdrive is charging as we go. Now, thankfully, this version of Sin doesn't attack until it's close enough, so this lets me get a ton of damage in and charges Riku's overdrive, which, no, I don't actually use. I want to save this for later just in case, and instead opt to continue with the Ultima spam. Really didn't expect I'd be doing Ultima spam this run, but hey, here we are. And surprisingly, Sin does counter me with an AoE, but it doesn't do that much as it's gravity based. But sadly, that is more health lost. But bright side, we killed him. Still no heal FYI. At least inside Sin, there's a few weaker mobs like the eyeballs and mushroom types. Likewise, there's some slow mobs like the Adamantoise. This means I can charge a little overdrive and then flee without having to worry about taking damage. And that's important here, but for now, it's time for Seymour. And this fight sucks.
Why? There's 5 targets, Seymour himself and his wheel thingy. Thankfully, we can cheese this though. I don't have the items to give everybody fireproof, but I do have the items to give everybody thunderproof. So my goal is to quickly rush Seymour into having all 4 wheels on lightning. Sounds smart, except it kinda screwed me. So I switched 2 wheels with Walker pretty quickly, and set Trio of 999 up with Riku, then Tidus can't hit any of the wheels. Likewise, items don't change them, and then when Seymour gets his turn in, he kills Riku and Walker with his double firer, while double Thundara goes on Tidus, who's immune. So I bring in Yuna to use Aeons to change the wheels. This does mean Valefor and Shiva die though in the process, but now Seymour can only attack with Thundager. Once he drops a little health, he will gain access to Ultima as well, but now I swap Tidus back in for Yuna since he's now invincible pretty much, so I attack away until Seymour has a phase change. However, I have not been keeping track of attacks, so I have no idea how much HP Seymour has left. So instead of risking anything, I swap Yuna back in and bring out Ifrit for the sensor ability of Aeons. Turns out I shouldn't have been worried though, as he has just 8 HP left, so I just attack with Ifrit to finish him off. Sadly, now though, we have Yuna, Riku and Walker on 1 HP, Tidus is on 3400, and the others, well, they're basically non-existent on the sphere grid, so doesn't really matter. And for Aeons, Valefor, Shiva and Bahamut are dead, Ixion and Yojimbo are yellow, and Ifrit is somewhat okay. I just can't believe 2 things though. Firstly, we made it all this way only having to manually heal once. And secondly, that we actually had to manually heal. I'm gutted! Maybe I should try to perfect the start, get more crits and evasions just to see if we can actually get past that damn spider or barge without a heal. But I suppose it's time for Jekt, aka Broska's final Aeon. And this guy has so many attacks, so much RNG in patterns, and so much health over his 2 forms that I honestly don't know what we're going to do with him. I do slowly build overdrives up though as a just in case, but I'm really not sure how I'm going to go about this now because Yu Yevon is going to be a nightmare with the auto life being present. Same with the Aeons. I have to do all of them without a death, and considering half of my party is on 1 HP, well, I don't know, it's gonna be risky. I am, however, extremely careful during the ice spike bit. The last thing I want here is a forced battle. So, for Jekt, I start out with Hastiger so I can try and get rid of Yuna and Orin quicker, to bring in Walker and Riku. I set up Trio and then use Blitz Ace to end phase 1, completely forgetting once phase 2 starts, there's a mandatory AoE attack, which kills Riku and Walker and drops Tidus to just a few hundred. And then before I even get another turn to try and bring in an Aeon, Jekt attacks me again, taking Tidus out. So that's a death. Let's try some different strats though. Oh, and for anybody curious, my last manual save was all the way back at Baval. Just thought I'd throw that out there, as that's how long it's been since we've had a heal. For the second attempt, I forgot to charge overdrives, which sucks. Then I try Yuna and Yojimbo, hoping for Zanmado. And, well, he didn't want to use it until after multiple turns and me giving him literally every single gil I had. This got us through phase 1, and then he also took the AoE at the start of phase 2. Sadly though, Orin got cursed big time, which rendered him useless. Then it was just trying to get Riku out into the party while bringing in Aeons every now and again. But TLDR, it was just a snowball and I couldn't do anything. I did eventually get Jekt down to about half HP, but I ultimately failed again. Okay, new strategy. I give Yuna 1 MP and then use Tidus to talk to Jekt. Yuna uses double ultimate and I swap Orin out for Riku, who then uses Trio, before I bring Ifrit out, who deals a little damage before it dies. Then I bring in Yojimbo, who manages to kill phase 1 before he ultimately dies as well. And now, with Trio up, I use fire gems to deal over 40,000 damage per gem, and some double ultimate casts to get through the fight. Even managed to save Tidus' overdrive, which is great. For the Aeons, I start spamming my way through with double ultimate on Riku, which not only refills her overdrive, but also murders the Aeons. But then shocker, the game crashed. I don't know what it is, it has to be something with the cutscene skipper mod, since we crash here every single time we do an FF10 run. So now I have the winning strategy, let's try this again, ideally with no crashes. So, once we're back, we take Shiva down with double cast Ultima. Bahamut needs a little more, so I use this time to swap Tidus out for Walker, and then kill Bahamut. At least we got 2 Bahamut kills this run, right guys? And hey, that's more times than we've had to heal so far. For Yojimbo, we once again use double Ultima. Now for you, Yavin. This is it. If we beat him now, then we've completed the game with only 1 heal used. And that was all the way back in what is essentially the game's tutorial still. So, let's do this. I use Riku to set up a trio of 999. Yuna gets a double cast Ultima out to deal a little damage to Yu Yevon and kill the Pagodas. Yu Yevon does get a cure again, but that's fine. Then, since both Pagodas are dead, I use attack reels with Walker, land a perfect spin, and thanks to trio, each hit deals max damage, which is enough to kill the boss. That's it. We completed the game and we did it without healing a single time manually. Well, we did use 1 heal back in Barge Temple. Of course, we had the story heals as well, but there's no way to stop them from actually happening. Now, I'm absolutely gutted though. I really wish we could have done the early game without having to heal, but that damn Sinspawn in Zanarkand ruined everything with its gravity. And then Geo having gravity-based attacks as well, which freaking sucks. I do wish though I had full health by time I got the airship, as then we could have done the optional bosses, got all the Aeons, etc. However, the lack of HP meant I couldn't touch the save sphere, so that wasn't allowed. But now, I have a question for all you guys. Well, a few questions actually. Did you expect this outcome? Did it surprise you? Did you find the hidden clue in this video for what the next challenge is? And have you checked out our Ko-Fi page or other social medias? You might be surprised at what you're missing out on. Also, something special is coming Tuesday, so keep your eyes peeled, people. Ko-Fi supporters also get early access to this, which is going to be a lot of highly requested videos. With that said though, everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.